let's say, my desires quite quickly, which is I want to be able to live from racing.
The best guy you've raced against?
I'd probably have to say.
Hey guys, we're here with Benavides. He's racing in EuroFormula Open this season, and I would say we go straight into it. Brett, how was the weekend? How was the first 2 sessions?
So far it was pretty good. We're currently round 2 of the VEFO in Hockenheim. Good feeling with the car, good feeling with the track. It's actually my first time in this track. FP1 was basically my first lap around this track, and but it was good, and it was also really fun, to drive around, especially the last sector 3. It's really cool. So yeah, it's been doing pretty good at the moment.
Nice. So I saw the Formula Regional, and they were going off in the last sector, like with the right-hander, which is almost flat out, or where you're going into the into the stadium section. So where you're also going, because they had 3 red flags.
Really?
Because people went off there.
Then they then smashed into the wall on the right.
Yeah, almost. But was it also on your?
Yeah, no. On our side, it was at least me. I was a bit conservative. I didn't want to. It is for us also a lift, so it is a corner for us. And especially since, for example, from the regional car compared to ours usually we have so much more downforce, and so we don't even have to brake in that type of corner, whereas they probably do. So usually the high speed corners are a little bit easier for us, and we have more control over the balance of the car or the limit of the car. But I wasn't too much over the limit, but it was still it was a proper lap, especially through there. Yeah. So.
Nice. Had you 50 minutes in the first session, or was it half an hour?
Yeah, 40 minutes. 40 minutes.
Okay, good. And have you done any changes on the car? Because we see it in Formula 1 that they are changing a little bit on the setup, also during the session probably. But have you done any bigger changes on your car, or are there any possibilities on your type of car to make huge changes?
I mean, I think it's sort of in the whole ladder up to Formula 1 and all the feeder series championships. Usually we always have tools to play with that we can do on the car, front wing, that's sort of pretty basic, and then the rear anti-roll bar or the front anti-roll bar, things like this. That's it's a quick change. It probably just takes 2 minutes. So that is sort of across the whole plane of field in terms of F4, F3, F2, even F1. The usual quick setup changes, and we're always playing around with that, really. So,
Nice, good. And I've seen your first race weekend in Portimao, which was quite decent. It was good. I think 1 win and 2 second places, or other way around?
Yeah, no, it was like that. It was like that. I wish it had been 2 wins. It could have been 2 wins, especially in the last race. But Portimao is a hard track to follow because of the dirty air. It's a low downforce sort of setup for that track, and following the car is not easy. But yeah, no, it was a good wrap up of the weekend with and let's say coming out of that round as the first round opener round as the championship leader. It's obviously not a lot of drivers, but still, yeah, the top 5 it's a decent level, and it's obviously positive for me at the moment, to be in the moment that I am at right now.
Cool. And any goals for this weekend? Do you want to continue the streak, the podium streak like that, or or any just to get acquainted with the track?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the goal is right for tomorrow, because tomorrow our day is pretty busy. We have quali and then 2 races out of the 3 races. So just Sunday it's just left for 1 race. So tomorrow's a pretty busy day, and of course the idea is maximize the amount of points, because points make prizes championship. So my main goal is obviously to win the championship, and at the end of the day, it's just how you manage to haul the maximum amount of points. Maybe if it's not as let's say attractive with double or triple P1s, but it's still maximizing the amount of points. So that's what's important.
Good. And maybe let's go back in the past. You've driven the Formula 2 car for a few races, and then I saw your video with the pit stop boys, and then you were not continuing anymore. Can you maybe give us a little hint or explain why you weren't able to continue?
Yeah, a short, basically, brief of what happened last year is that it was more like it was more on the economical side of things that I wasn't able to do the last 4 rounds and continue my championship in F2. And yeah, sort of after that, I didn't really know if I was gonna basically continue racing, in especially in single seaters. But thankfully, at the end of last year, it was looking most likely that there was this possibility with this team in this championship, and it's a good place to be, because the position that I'm at the moment, it's good in terms of license points, it's good in terms of my resume as a driver. And so I think, yeah, from in terms of between a rock and a hard place, yeah, last year was tough, but at least I was able to sort of see the light at the end of the tunnel with something that I could you know be content with. So
Yeah, good. And I had one question in mind. Yes, because I've read that the EuroFormula, a good seat in the EuroFormula is even more expensive than a decent seat in a FREC car. So I don't know if it's true, or if you can give us a little insight in this time kind of direction, because you also raced in the FREC car, I think.
yeah.
And is it like similar level, or is it?
I think financially it's in a pretty similar level. Probably UFO is a little bit more costly, just because the car is a better car. It's the Lada, just to start with, the chassis. And yeah, we're doing a little bit less rounds. We're doing 2 less rounds than Freca, but we're also doing 3 races. I'm pretty sure they only do 2 races. Just it feels like the running time that we have in the UFO is more than the Freca. And also, in my opinion, what you're gonna learn from the EFO in terms of your driving style is better for your future as a professional racing driver than in Freca, because Freca, like, yeah, you have more level in terms of the drivers, the championship. And the level of the championship is higher, and so obviously that gets you to push more the limit of what you can do with that car. But in terms of the car and the championship, if this championship had more drivers, it just makes more sense that in terms of financially what the championship may cost, for that reason it's slightly higher in EFO. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And those guys from Prema, they're already right now not, but usually they're always up there. And how different tools do you have in a worse F2 car compared to a Prema in F2? So where's the difference coming from, that they're constantly up there? And some teams have to fight for points at every race weekend. And
I think mainly it's knowing how to make the tires work. That's what I got from the races that I did in F2. Like even the team that I was in, PHM, some races, like, we knew how to have the tire working in the right window, and you could just feel that you have the grip in the tires based on how we were setting up the car. And other races, like, it's the same tire compound, but in similar track or similar, let's say, abrasivity of the asphalt, and on paper it should have a similar feeling of like the delta grip that we are having. But then the car is feeling like completely out of balance, at least. Like, it doesn't feel like it's in a proper new, like, workable balance to be quick. So I think, yeah, it's just the knowledge and experience and just competence that one team might have compared to the other in terms of how they build up the car, and the understanding of how to make it work with the tire.
Yeah.
Basically.
Okay, interesting. Looking into the future now, what does the future hold for you? What are your goals in the future? Have you any plans, long-term plans, where you want to be at in like 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I'll state, let's say, my desires quite quickly, which is I want to be able to live from racing because it's my passion and it's what I've loved to do ever since I'm a little kid, ever since I have memory, literally. And so that's like my main my main goal. I just want to live. I just want to have the opportunity to be able to live from it, because then I know I could live my life. I could have a family. I could just and do what I love the most, which is driving.
Yeah.
So that's my main goal. And then in terms of long term goals, and then short term goals, obviously I'm just focused in the day to day, and doing the best that I can in the next outing.
Yeah.
And in terms of, like, for example, like this round, now that I'm here, of course it's maximize points, focused on the track, focused in what I have to do this weekend, and then the same thing will happen next weekend or the next round in Spa, which is in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So
nice.
just sort of have the same process, same build up towards each weekend, but it's like really just divided, into okay, full focus, maximum attack this weekend, then completely erase the memory of the other weekend and just new weekend. That's sort of my approach, full focus in the moment, sort of.
Good. So let's go back in the years. So how did you become a racing driver? How did you fell in love with racing?
It's kind of weird. Let's say my story summed up shortly. I began my love really for racing ever since I can remember, because actually, a fun fact that my earliest memory is of Cars, the movie Cars, when I turned 5 years old. And that day that I turned 5 years old, my parents gifted me the remote control cars, like little cart
Those
thing.
one, yeah, I know what you mean.
That they could move with no, that it was actually electric, and I could actually have the throttle and brake.
Okay.
And yeah, I basically started, like, ever since I can remember, like, sort of my passion for racing and cars, like any other kid that likes racing and likes cars. But I didn't get into karting early on. I just, like, really liked racing. But I was first a swimmer because my dad was a swimmer. He's an ex-Olympian, and so that was sort of like my heritage. That was the path that I was supposed to take. And only until when I was 12 or 13, my dad bought me a mini go-kart when I was living in Guatemala, because after living in the US, I moved to Guatemala when I was 12. Yeah, he bought me a mini go-kart because I was loving just the go-karts, because we lived next door to a racetrack and they were driving the go-karts quite frequently. And so I just fell in love with the go-karts, and he gave me a cart for my birthday, but it was in Guatemala, so it was not like it was sort of just like a side hobby. So from when I was 13 up to when I was 16, it was just sort of like a side hobby, and mainly was swimming. But slowly yet steadily, I just, like, started growing more passion and more interest into racing and higher level racing of go-karts, like, say, like European Championship, World Championship level of go-karts. And then that's when I decided, when I was 16, to get into more professional karting, and I moved to Europe to do European races. And that's basically where it kicked off, up to now, when ever since that was like the threshold. That's when I literally said, okay, I'm gonna start doing racing more seriously. And it was like when I moved to Europe, that's like a proper moment where, okay, this is sort of the beginning of my racing career, because before that it was just too rudimentary, per se.
Nice. Just,
oh yeah, you want to come in, bro?
Yeah,
You're good for it if you want. Yo, you want to come in?
You can come in. Yeah, no problem. Nice. So basically, you had a pretty different road to where you are now compared to other your competitors and your teammates, because you weren't racing in karting somewhere, and I don't know how they are called the certified kart racing world champions or whatever.
Yeah.
So you just skipped, and so you're there where you are now.
Yeah, I sort of caught up to them really late when many of my competitors, by the age of 16, they're already moving on to F4 and like single seaters. And when I started, which was 16, yeah, I basically had to like catch up everything, all those years that they'd done, like the past 8-7 years, and just one. I won 1.5 years because I did 1.5 years of karting before I moved to single seater.
What I heard is that in karting you learn how to position your car on track in terms of like fighting, like defense, offense, and do you feel like there's some kind of spot missing, or people are doing differently than you are, or that you had first in mind, okay, those guys are from karting, those little tricks and skills they have, so you had to caught up to that as well, so the one-on-one?
I think like an adversity is never an adversity, like if you don't know how to approach it, and like something's bad, you never know if it's bad like for your life if you don't know how to like convert it into like a positive, you know what I mean? And so I had that like let's say the deficiency that I didn't have the experience of knowing how to let's say the what is the term? What was the term? Yo, Jacob, what was the term of like knowing how to race? Racecraft. Yeah, racecraft. I had to like build my racecraft in a year and a half. So it's like I had to catch up to their experience and their knowledge of how to like really do proper racecraft. But it's not necessarily bad, because I think that I got to understand it not only just by experiencing, out of experience learning, but also by consciously analyzing, consciously understanding why are they doing that. Why, to catch up quickly, I had to really like study, you know what I mean? And so I went over a bunch of races on YouTube and etc. And not only that, when I'm looking at people, I'm always like analyzing every single like competitor or driver, like what are they doing, and for what reason are they doing that for? Because I felt like that's just my natural way to be able to catch up quicker to them. So just being more conscious of like the physics as well, and or just like why, just like really question everything. And many times I would also then come to the conclusion that many people were doing it for no reason. They would just do it like stupidly, or they just enter the end side, like send in, and they weren't like, sometimes it was for no reason, or other times, I could learn something from what they were doing, because obviously they had the experience, and I could catch up to them quite quickly by just analyzing, perceiving, and just absorbing that experience.
Yeah, fine. And how would you describe your type of racing? Like, I know that some Formula One drivers like it more oversteery, and some may like it more understeery. So do you have like preparation?
Nobody's actually ever asked me that, and it's something that I've always like thought, if somebody finally asked me that, what I'm going to say. And I was always like, in my mind, I would always say I'm the type of person that just prefers like a neutral balance, and that's always what I've prepared for. But now that you're asking me, I mean, I want to like delve into it a little bit, because I know, for example, there's this notion that Verstappen is as quick as he is because he puts so much front end on the car, so much rotation, so much oversteer sort of feeling on the balance of the car. But then when I'm looking at like the onboards and stuff, it doesn't really look like it's super oversteer, because the problem with oversteer is that if you're overdoing it, then you can't go on throttle. Like you can't have a good exit. So I think oversteer is compared to other drivers, if they're not driving the car and its limit, and they're not having the proper technique and understanding of what the potential of the car can achieve in terms of setup as well, then it might feel like it's oversteer. And that's like when I was sort of analyzing sort of what I'm wanting to extract from the car in terms of the setup. Maybe for some other driver it could feel like it's super oversteering, but for me it just feels balanced, because that's what the car needs. with what my driving style is and what my understanding of where the limit is, that I'm going to like be able to put the car in the right window. So that for me feels like I like the car that's neutral. It's like balanced.
Yeah.
But maybe for another driver it could feel oversteery.
Yeah.
But in terms of just like the real raw definition of oversteer, understeer, I would rather go for slight oversteer in a quality lap, because that means that I'm having like the rotation.
Yeah.
And I could manage that, because that's sort of more the quicker way to go around a lap, by managing slightly a little bit more oversteer, because it's like easier to gauge it. Rather, if it's understeer, there's nothing you can do to make the car quicker, because it's limited. It's literally limited by the understeer. So there's like a deficit in potential lap time that you can extract from the car. Rather, if you slightly oversteer, you're not gonna have that deficit. If you like are really precise, maybe you're losing. Maybe there's a slight deficit, but it's not too much.
Yeah. Because I have this kind of quote from I think Carlos Sainz was it in the podcast, where he was saying like, give me an oversteery car and I make it even more oversteery, so that I think he likes it even more understeery. But I think it's also like just like personal feeling, what is oversteer for you. Maybe it's balanced for someone else, for you or whatever. So pretty interesting that it's not only like this is an oversteer car, this is understeer. No, it's like how you feel it in the car. Personally.
Because at the end of the day, it's like each person's perspective on what is the ideal lap time, what is the ideal driving style, where is the limit. And maybe somebody has a feeling and it's sort of more towards, I can't do that, my limitation is here, so I need this balance. And then if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it looks more slightly understeering, but because that's his limit. You know what I mean? But I think at the end of the day, there's a physics to racing, right? So there's a physics to how much there's too much rotation, how much is technically too much oversteer, and that's technically slower, because literally if you do a simulation, imagine there's like a perfect AI driver that's going to drive perfectly, understanding all of the laws of the universe and laws of physics. He's going to be able to absolutely extract and maximize the lap time. There's a threshold that when it's too much rotation, technically oversteer, it's going to be slower. Because the guy cannot go on throttle. The rear is just going to freaking step out, and you're going to go past the slip angle of the rears. You're going to lose grip, basically. So there is, I think that's why I said there isn't a moment where at the end of the day it's just bounded to like each driver's, let's say, capability. So this topic is actually quite interesting, because I saw also a clip of Albon. I don't know if you've seen it, when he's talking. I don't know who he's talking. Jacob, you've probably seen it, when Albon is talking about, when I was with Verstappen in the days that he was racing in Red Bull, and he was saying, thing is, Verstappen, it's not like, he said, it's not like he likes to drive not a pointy car. He said, I like to drive a pointy car, but Verstappen is on another level. And then he sort of compared it with computer gaming, and with the mouse sensitivity. And then he says literally this. I don't know if you've ever played computer gaming, but the sensitivity of the mouse. Well, I like mouse sensitivity that's quite high. Well, Verstappen likes it like to the max. So that's sort of the way that he put it.
Okay.
But I wouldn't put it like that. Because of what I said earlier. Because at the end of the day, there's a moment where physically it's too much, but at the end of the day, if that's like only the true absolute physics of what's ideal, what's optimal for the car and for the lap, you can never know what it is, because you don't know what the absolute limit of balance and what's the ideal like physics of it. But the guy that has the best innate understanding of it, perhaps for somebody else, might feel like if it's oversteered. But really, maybe he just has a better understanding of what the true limit is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I wouldn't put it like, I wouldn't give the example of max sensitivity or not, because like I said, racing, there's a moment where max sensitivity is gonna give you less performance. Like in the sense that in FPS gaming, if you have too much max sensitivity, you're messing with the game, because then the FPS is gonna completely drop because physically the game cannot hold so much sensitivity, and you're gonna drop an FPS, and you're not gonna know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so there's a threshold where too much sensitivity probably in the mouse is too much, and so you lose performance. So I think in that sense, racing is similar.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Fine line. Yeah. And one more question: the best guy you've raced against?
Because I think we can divide that into two, which is real life racing and then sim racing.
We can do both.
Yeah. So I'd say real life racing. I'd probably have to say sort of wait, now I gotta think about it.
Tough one.
Yeah, they're all pretty good, but because I can only judge based on the people that I like know more personally. For example, I know sort of Jack Doohan. I know him more personally because I've done a lot of sim racing conveniently with him. But so like I know his mind, I know his understanding and stuff. Versus somebody like Isaac Hadger, I wouldn't know anything about him. I just would know his results. And the problem with racing is that at the end of the day, it's just a result sheet, you know, and you can't really. There's no story behind it. It's just the results. And many times, you know, in racing, you can't judge the potential of a racing driver who's good or who's not just based out of a time, you know, a result sheet, because it doesn't really tell you, you know, those tangible attributes of a racing driver. You can only ever reach that if you talk to the person and you know where his mind is.
It's not only down to the driver to be on the top.
Yeah,
it's also down to tires, to the guys in the garage and stuff. So
so I can only judge based on the guys that I've met. And if we're judging based off of that, I think one of the best guys I've raced against is Doohan, Jack. He's pretty good. He's pretty solid. Or Pepe Marti. He's also pretty good.
Yeah,
he's also pretty good. And then on iRacing, I'd have to say on iRacing, I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but usually on iRacing, everybody that I know in real life is pretty good. That I meet on iRacing, I'm always quicker. So
that's a good one.
Yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd have to say who's just behind me. Nah, just yeah. I really like how Deligny. He's Enzo Deligny.
Here from Freca, right?
Because he's really young, very extremely young, and he's really smart for his age. Like you could tell that it just feels like he has so much experience when he doesn't, and that's just because he's smart. He knows how to analyze things correctly and then, you know, connect that with his racing. So it feels like he's probably one of the best that I've driven in sim racing.
It's a valuable trait to have as a racing driver. Yeah. Good. Absolute last one now.
Yeah.
Your favorite track and why?
I have to say Spa, and not only because I've been historically good in that track, because the time that I raced there in Formula Renault, I was in the front qualifying, and then in 2022 FIA3 with Carlin, I also was qualified relatively up there. And so I mean, it's not only because of my performance that has relatively stand out against all the other tracks that I've driven in, but also just the feeling of, you know, a Rouge and the Camel Straight, and I don't know, it's nice, just the idea that it's such a historical track, also a dangerous track, and it's also really dynamic. You know, you're having rain and then you're having not rain in other parts of the track at the same time. So it's just, I don't know, there's something about it that's like is really it's a big legacy behind that track, and at the same time I've done a good job at that track, so it's just a combination that I just really like it because of that.
Good. These are good words for the end, I think. Thank you, Brett, for being here, for having time, and
thank you for having me.
Yeah, good luck for the race weekend.
Cheers buddy.
Bye.
Peace. Doing some wide receiver like position in American football.
So you're fast, or you weren't fast, so you switched the sport.
Yeah, like, basically. I wasn't too fast. Nah, I never took it seriously because I always had to do swimming. Like my dad was like, "You do swimming and that's it. Like that's it."
Yeah.
But it was, in school, and there was one time that I sort of got into it. It was fun.
Well, I mean, when you're in the US, you have at least some kind of connection to American football.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's like when for me it was like playing outside football. With soccer.
I mean, it's good.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And for you guys, I think it's from the US. Really it's American football. Then
we barely ever play football, soccer. It's American football or basketball.
Yeah, but
like in school,
you're not too tall enough, I think.
For basketball, no, fuck no.
Yeah, it wouldn't be so successful.